Casual. Today we are going to be going over our Week 9 power rankings for the 2024 NFL season. As usual, before we get into this video, make sure you subscribe as it helps the channel out a ton. And without further ado, let's get into these power rankings. So the first group we have is the Panthers at 32, the Titans at 31, the Dolphins at 30, the Patriots at 29, and the Raiders at 28. Now, Panthers at 32 and Titans at 31 I think are pretty self-explanatory. If the Panthers win and Titans lose, it'll probably flip-flop. Or if the Panthers win, they'll probably go up higher than 31. But I think them at 31 and 32 is pretty self-explanatory. It was at first Patriots and Panthers at 31, 32, however you wanted to put it. But the Patriots did beat the Jets, so I gave them up to 29. And I think they deserve that spot over the Dolphins, as Drake May has been pretty good, as well as Jacoby Brissett, who's been okay. But I just think they looked a little bit better than the Dolphins did. But Tua and that Dolphins offense did look a lot better coming back from their injury. Tua coming back from his injury, the offense looked a lot better. Their defense is still questionable, but the offense, again, looked much improved. And then the Raiders at 28. I mean, they've just been whatever, a so-so team. But I think they beat the Ravens, so I think that alone gets them the nod over these other teams. Next group, we have the Giants at 27, the Jags at 26, the Jets at 25, the Browns at 24, and the Saints at 23. The Giants, their defense has been great. The D-line, Dexter Lawrence, Burns, Azeez Ojulari, they haven't had Kayvon Thibodeau play. The D-line's been great. Tyrone Tracy, Malik Neighbors have been good. Daniel Jones has continued to be up and down, and their team's just been okay. They almost came back to beat the Steelers, but again, I think they've just been slightly better than the bottom 5 teams just due to their defense. Jags at 26, they continue to just be, again, up and down. Again, they almost came back against the Packers to win that game, but they've looked all right. And then the Jets at 25, they've just looked... I mean, they lost to the Patriots, who were 32 going into this week, according to my power rankings. So I notched them down, and I decided to give the Browns the spot above them, coming off of that very impressive win over the Ravens. Jameis Winston has made this offense look completely different, so if they continue to play like that, they will definitely rise the rankings, but just because of how bad the season start they had, I didn't want to move them too high. And the Saints at 23, without Derek Carr, they've just looked bad. Their defense has even regressed. Derek Carr could come back this week, so we'll see what happens. But right now I have him at 23, as that hot start has kind of cooled it down. Next group is a bigger one. Colts at 22, Cowboys at 21, the Chargers at 20, the Broncos at 19, the Rams at 18, and the Bears at 17. Colts, yeah, they lost to the Texans, but I think they've looked better overall as a team than the Saints have, at least recently. They did just bench Anthony Richardson as I'm recording this, and Joe Flacco has made this team look better, so maybe they could climb up if they get some wins, especially if they beat the Vikings on Sunday night. 21, Cowboys, they just haven't looked good. I don't know, their run game is non-existent. Outside of CeeDee Lamb, they have no one to throw to. Dak's been inconsistent. The defense, I know it's been injured, but the defense hasn't been great. Now, if Micah Parsons comes back, Deron Bland, I don't know the timetable of those guys or whatever, but if they come back, the defense improves, maybe they can go back to in that upper half like they were. But honestly, the 4 teams above them in the Chargers, Broncos, Rams, and Bears have just played better than them recently. First off with the Chargers, they did have that tough loss to the Cardinals. But then they came back and I think they won. Hold on. Yeah, they beat the Saints. And their defense has been great. Herbert's been solid, so yeah. But however, I do want to put the Broncos, Rams, and Bears above them. Broncos coming off of a big win over the Panthers, and they're up to 5 wins already, which is crazy. Rams, now that they got their weapons healthy, and Puka and Cooper Kupp, they've looked good. Matthew Stafford had a great game last week. And then I didn't want to move the Bears because they lost on a Hail Mary Their defense played okay, good. Their offense did not look great till the end there, but they were close to beating the Commanders, a top 10 team, so I didn't want to move them down. I think they're still better than the Rams, Broncos, or Chargers, but that could obviously change. Next group we have is the Cardinals at 16, the Seahawks at 15, and the Bengals at 14. Cardinals at 16 have looked pretty impressive. I know they beat the Dolphins, who are one of the worst teams, at least recently. But I've been impressed with Kyler. Marvin Harrison had another great game. Seems like all his stats are going to come from, like, half the season. They have one game where he's, like, one of the best receivers in football, and then he'll have another game where he just doesn't get the ball. But the Cardinals have played well. And then the Bengals and Seahawks, I didn't move them down. We can go to the next group, which is the Bucs at 13, the Falcons at 12, and the Steelers at 11. I decided to keep all these teams the same, as I still wanted to give the Steelers the nod over the Falcons, even though I think the Falcons had a better win than the Steelers did. The Falcons swept the Bucs, so they deserve to be over the Bucs. However, the Bucs don't have their receivers, and I think they've just played better overall than the Bengals and Seahawks. And the Seahawks also got blown out by the Bills at home. The Bengals got blown out by the Eagles at home, and the Bucs barely lost to the Falcons at home. So that's why the order kind of stays the same. And the Steelers, obviously, they beat the Falcons. And then overall, they've just played great. Russell Wilson has really transformed this offense. George Pickens playing great. Najee Harris is playing great. Even Van Jefferson and Calvin Austin are playing great. So I think they deserve to stay at 11. Next, we have the Eagles at 10, the Niners at 9. It's funny. And the Commanders at 8. Again, Eagles, I know since getting A.J. Brown back, they have been a completely different offense, as well as getting Devonta Smith back as well. Hurts is playing great. The defense is slowly getting there. However, I just think that the Niners and Commanders deserve that spot just above them. I did give the Commanders the nod over the Niners, as, yeah, they barely beat the Bears, while the Niners kind of easily beat the Cowboys. I just don't think you could ignore the Commanders being at 6 wins, right? That's how many wins they have. I think they're at 6. Yeah, you can't ignore them being at 6 wins. But I didn't want to move the Eagles down, as I think they've lost to a lot tougher teams than the Steelers, Falcons, and Bucs, and Bengals, and Seahawks have. However, I don't think they deserve yet to be over the Niners and Commanders, but that could obviously change. The next group we have is the Texans at 7, the Packers at 5, and the Packers at 6, Vikings at 5. Again, kept the Packers over the Texans as they beat them. The Packers also beat the Jags much easier, I think, than the Texans beat the Colts. However, I do think the Colts are better than the Jags, but not by much. I just think they both had very similar wins, so I didn't want to shift too much around there. And the Vikings, they coming off a loss to the Rams. I didn't want to move them too far down, even though the 5 teams below them won. The 7 teams below them actually won. But the Rams are a good team when healthy, and the Vikings still have 6 wins. However, I don't think they're better than the 4 teams above, which are the Ravens at 4, the Bills at 3, the Lions at 2, and the Chiefs at 1. I can't move the Chiefs below 1. They're 7-0. They're the only undefeated team. You talk all you want about how they've won their games. I'm not going to lose them or knock them down a spot because they beat the Raiders easily. Lions at 2, I think, are the best team in football, especially amongst the 6-win teams. I think they're easily the best. And then when it comes to 3 and 4 between the Bills and Ravens, I gave the nod to the Bills because they blew out the Seahawks at Seattle, while the Ravens lost to the Browns. But it could be a coin toss. Those are the only 4 teams I can at the moment see winning the Super Bowl. Is the Chiefs, Lions, Bills, and Ravens. So, but I just gave the Bills the nod because they won their game. But that will officially conclude our power rankings over here at Couch Casual for Week 9 of 2024 NFL season. As always, in the comment section, let me know what you agreed with and what you disagreed with. Also, make sure you leave a like if you enjoyed. And again, make sure you subscribe. It helps a lot. and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.